On Neotropolis, we take you lots of places, lots of different places, looking for the forces of technology and globalization and diversity. Today, we're in Kent. We're going to take you on a bus, but not just any bus, a poetry bus. Poetry, folks! Yeah! A poetry bus, excellent. But before we do that, we're going to talk to David Hassler. He's the director of the Wick Poetry Center here at Kent State. David, how are you?
I'm great. It's great to be here on the bus and be out here in this cold weather to talk about poetry.
So you're a poet administrator. Kind of, is that like the part of the job description?
Well, I don't really think of it so much as a job, but it's what I get paid to do. It's what I love to do. I'm a poetry lover, poetry administrator, poetry activist.
So tell me about this program, Traveling Stanzas. What is that all about?
This idea of putting poetry up above people's heads so that you can look up and pause and actually have that little pause in the day and read a poem and allow yourself to reflect and be taken somewhere. Really, this whole project, Traveling Stanzas, is a way to bring poetry to people's everyday lives and to increase the awareness of graphic design and poetry in our community and really promoting our own voices in our own community of all ages.
So are we ready for some poetry, folks? Yeah! Absolutely! All aboard!
Okay. Yeah!
On this bus, there's an explosion of poetry. Like David told us, Traveling Stanzas is a project connecting the community with its poetry. And on this bus, there's all kinds of verses. There are all kinds of text up on where the ads usually are, except they're poems. And this is one kind of text you can read without getting a ticket while you're driving. So what we're going to do is talk to two of the poets who have poems on this bus. First, we're going to talk to Joe Steinhurst. And then after that, we're going to talk to Campbell Budzar. And if we're lucky, they'll read their poems for us. Joe, thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure.
And tell me about have you been writing poetry for a long time?
Oh, I started as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been writing off and on.
So you write poetry. What does that really mean to you? What does it do for you?
Poetry really exposes you. You're expressing what's in your heart. And so it's a way of expressing what you're feeling or what you'd like to feel. I think that it brings people closer to you. It gives them an understanding of who you are. And it makes you more aware of who you are.
Would you grace us by reading your poem that's here on the bus?
I'd love to. The title is Flags Are Flying. Today, flags are flying outside my window. 4th of July, and I am back in my parents' home, Boston, 1944. Flags were flying then, and not all red, white, and blue, but white ones too, with gold stars to signify broken hearts. I remember when the telegram arrived, just a piece of paper carrying tears for a wife, a fatherless child, parents in shock. Now, more than 60 years later, no telegram arrives, yet feelings remain for wasted lives, untimely end, while once again, flags are flying.
That's very beautiful, Joe. You know, that makes me think of that cycle, of course, that there are wars and conflicts from hundreds, thousands of years ago, and yet it goes on today.
Well, I was trying to express the futility of war in this poem.
And tell me the image there of the star in the window, the flag in the window, what is that about?
Well, during World War II, lots of people put out regular American flags hanging from their windows. And then when young men started to die, white flags with gold stars were what was put out then to signify that there has been a loss in that family. In this particular poem, I used poetry to express my feelings all these years later, that it doesn't go away. Sadness stays with you.
So, Campbell, you are a poet, and where do you go to school?
I go to Stanton Middle School.
And what grade are you in?
7th grade.
Oh, wow, okay. Campbell, first tell me, how'd you get interested in poetry?
I like to write. I like to imagine things and express myself.
So tell me about the poem that is on the bus here today. What's the name of it?
With All These Moments.
With All These Moments. And what is it about?
I wrote it when I was in 3rd grade. And it was in this scrapbook of mine where I drew a lot of stuff in. And I think it had to do something with creating imagining.
Creativity and imagination, two incredibly important things for writers and poets, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So would you do us the honor and read that poem for us?
Sure. With all these moments. With all these moments which grew, then picked, and all those who shot, snapped, raced across this time of floral grace. And those forgotten, left behind, a level of heart. And thee who ripened my moments, then sweetened and baked, as tender enough to eat. And those who greatened our moments, and kneaded our bread, and made such a difference.
Talking to Katie Barnes. Katie, what you were part of the graphic design team for which poem?
Flags Are Flying.
Is that Joe's poem?
Correct. And after I had gotten Joe's poem and really read it and read the subject matter, and then I actually even was so lucky to talk with Joe and really get to know what the subject matter was about. And it was such a serious, real subject that drove me to kind of going a completely different direction and using more real looking graphics. After we had got talking and I really got into what Joe was talking about in this flag and what flag was flying, it really began to dawn on me that she was talking about a war mother's flag. To be totally honest, every time I hear Joe read her poem, it brings tears to my eyes. Yeah. It's very gorgeous.
It's a moving poem. It really is.
I'll start. Right. Oh, perfect. Pouncing. Purple joy. How good to be with you again. Let us sing the pianissimo of the stars until we beat as one. Yay!